What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here to review the game against Frankfurt yesterday. It finished 1-1 on the night in the first leg, which ended up being a really frustrating night, to be honest, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I was obviously there last night, and I think as soon as you walked into that ground, you could tell you got that real big game kind of feeling, and fans were bang up for it. Both sets of fans were bang up for it, to be fair. And it was just a very different feel around the place than it has been for the last couple of months. Because, I mean, like, it's been hard to get up for pretty much any Premier League game over the last 3 months. But this one, I felt, all the fans were pretty much bang up for it. And you got the sense of occasion and excitement, which was good to see, really.
Yeah, it's what before the game, you were calling for everyone to be unified and positivity and, everyone be loud and proud for the team. Do you feel like you got that?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely before the game, fans were singing in their numbers, flags were out, people were definitely getting behind the team. Once we went 1-0 down, it went a bit flat, as you would probably expect with everything that's been going around the club over the last few months, but it definitely picked up throughout the game. And I think the fans did us proud last night.
No sort of toxicity or frustration, any groans?
Yeah, look, when we went 1-0 down, there was obvious frustrations and a few groans, but I don't think that kind of swayed away for the support for the team. The team were fully supported last night. So that's definitely good. And when you've got so much to play for, when you're in the quarterfinal of a European competition, that's the way it should be, no matter what the league form, no matter any sort of situation surrounding the club, the in, out, Levy, and whatever. You just need to get behind the team in these situations.
Yeah, Frankfurt fans though are in the away end.
Mate, they are incredible fans. They really are. Because I got there early last night and I walked in, and about an hour and a half before kickoff, the away end was packed, literally packed, like the game was already going on, and they were just bouncing up and down. And then I went in after to do my match reaction, literally like half an hour after the final whistle, when the rest of the stadium was empty. They were still there bouncing up and down. It was like non-stop from them.
How was when you were talking? I'm sure you probably spoke to a few fans before the game and stuff. What was the feeling around? Was there an anticipation? Was everyone excited, or was everyone nervous? Like, we're just going to screw it up again? Or was everyone had a good feeling going into the game?
I think it was a bit of a mixture. I think that, some people were like, we got to do it tonight. Fairly positive. I think the main kind of feeling was probably nerves, to be honest, because of we know the way we've been playing over the last 3 months and how big of a game this was for us, and how we've maybe managed these kind of situations in the past. I think there was nerves going into it, but there was a clear sense of you must get behind a team. That's what it was all about.
Yeah, and obviously with in terms of the lineup, when you saw it, what was the instant reaction? Frustration, big frustration. Because when I didn't see Spence in that lineup, I was like, "Ange, what have you done here? What are you doing? A doggy ain't playing well by any stretch of the imagination. He's not. He's like a shadow of a doggy pre-injury from last season." And anyone I spoke to before the game about that situation was like, "Oh God, Ange, what have you done?" It was very much a negative feeling when we saw Spence not in that team, but it didn't work out too bad for us, to be honest. It wasn't a detriment to the game, is what I'd say, because the doggy played really well, Porro played well, but Spence has been probably playing better over the last 3-4 months, so it was a strange decision to leave him out. Yeah, I agree. When I looked at it, I was like, obviously we said before the game, Spence had played the last 2, so is he hinting that he's not going to play Spence in this game? Or we thought maybe he was hinting he might not play Porro potentially, but obviously Porro didn't play last game, did he? Or did he play against Southampton? No, we did play against Southampton. Porro.
Southampton, it was Porro and Spence.
Yeah, Porro and Spence.
That's what we were saying before the game.
Yeah.
Like, this suggests a doggy is going to play.
Yeah, so I think a doggy definitely had his best game in a while, so I don't think I'd criticise that decision. It was just a weird one when looking at it, but maybe in training they were better that week or something, so he gave it to them. But I think it was a bit of a strange one on the face of it, given the form all the players have been on. But I actually thought Spence as well came on for 10 minutes, did quite well as well. So I think all 3 of them came out of that game with a lot of credit, I would say.
Yeah, and like when you're looking forward to the game, the second leg, I do think Spence needs to play that game, and I would probably drop Pedro Porro out of the 3.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Maybe we'll get an indication on Sunday.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely get an indication. I think if a doggy's rested on the weekend, I think that suggests he's going to play on Thursday.
Or if you rest both of them. Maybe puts Gray at right back or something.
What, Porro, if he rests Porro and Udogie? Yeah, there is a serious case where he plays like Spence at left back and Gray at right back on the weekend. And it'll be interesting. If that's the case, then I think that suggests he's definitely going to go for Porro and Udogie again.
Yeah, but I think probably I would say both the fullbacks were two of our better players yesterday. So I don't think it was a bad decision on the face of it, albeit it's a weird one because after 5 minutes, obviously we go 1-0 down. Danny's bemoaning the fact that Spence isn't playing because Porro doesn't really stop the shot. And you got to give it credit to Equalizer because it's a great goal. But yeah, if Spence was there, does he stop that potentially? I think there's a case for it. Well, then on the flip side, does Spence score the goal Porro scores? Probably not.
Yeah, look, you could say that Spence might have stopped it, and maybe there's a case to say he does, but there was a goal that we conceded on the weekend where Spence doesn't get out to his man quick enough in that game as well. So, to stop the cross. So, I don't know. I don't know if Spence stops it.
Kind of happened twice against Chelsea as well. It happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's more of a chance it happening when Porro is on that side, but it's hard to judge saying that it definitely would have stopped it when we've seen Spence have similar traits before as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but after 5 minutes, as you say, 1-0, we're 1-0 down. Worst possible start to a quarter final you could ever wish for. Probably after you said a positive start from the crowd. I'm assuming probably got a bit quiet after that moment.
Yeah, it went flat after that. It really did, and I think it's kind of what expected because everyone going into it is like, just do not concede a goal, do not concede chances in the first 5-6 minutes of the game, like we have been doing pretty much for the last few months. How many gilt-edged chances have we conceded in the first few minutes of games, and this one was no different.
Well, it was a bit different. The fact this one wasn't really a
gilt-edged
chance.
Yeah, no, fine. Yeah, I take that point. It wasn't a gilt-edged chance, but the fact that we don't close our man when you've got a striker with top quality like that can hit them from those kind of angles, you cannot be giving them all that time and space on the edge of the box. You just can't.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it was massively frustrating. I think from Tottenham's point of view, got to get out quicker to him, and as well, he was kind of isolated, so there wasn't much fear of him finding anyone else. So I think someone should have really committed and got really close to him. It seemed as though the centre-backs were backing off a bit. Maybe they were thinking Porro was going to kind of get to him. Porro wasn't able to get to him quick enough for him to stop the shot. And look, you got to say it's unbelievable quality from Ekitike. 25 yards out, just arrows it into that far corner. So much power. Sometimes you do have to say it's a brilliant goal and it's hard to stop that. But from Tottenham's point of view, when there's so many players around him, someone's got to get closer to him.
Look, it's hard to stop it once the shots gets taken, right? Because it's an unbelievable strike, but you can't let him get to that situation. You can't let him get to having so much space on the edge of our box and having an option to shoot there. That option shouldn't be available to him. That's the reality, and that's why I was so frustrated with that. But look, unbelievable strike. You got to give it to the striker for sure. But I think after that, we kind of took control. I think dominating possession, recycling the ball well, without creating too many chances. But within 20 minutes, we're back level with a really nice team goal that was worked up well. Maddison does some really good work into the box, finds Pedro Porro, and Pedro Porro with an unbelievable back flick, and it goes into the back of the net. I was like, wow, what a goal that was.
Yeah, it's a great team goal. Really great team goal. Good link up between Son, Solanke and Maddison to get into that position. I thought Maddison did brilliantly to chop the defender, get to the byline, really good pullback, and you have to say it's a really difficult finish from Porro. Back heels it really smoothly into the goal through the legs of one of the Frankfurt defenders. It's really impressive finish from him, not one that I expect from a fullback, and also you don't really expect Porro to be in that kind of position, but I guess that's the gamble you take when you play the fullbacks the way that we do, kind of give them the license to get into those positions, and it worked out on this occasion.
Never in those positions though? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, Solanke was drawing out the other players. I guess he was running the channels and he laid it off. He was one in setting up the goal, so that's what his role. I guess Porro took up his position on that occasion. But it was actually a really good team goal, and I think we are seeing signs of some of these moves are coming together. We saw it against RZ a few times. Obviously Southampton in the first half. We saw it with that Brennan Johnson goal. And I think in this game as well, we're seeing a lot more of those kind of patterns of play and cohesion of the front line being put in action. So it happened a few times this game. I think the goal we scored was a really good team goal. And I don't think we really pressed that momentum really in the first half. Obviously, we had that moment right at the end of the first half where they had a 4-on-2 right at the end,
been a goal.
and we definitely got away with that. I think they probably took the wrong option giving it to Ekitike, because there was a guy at the far post was free. They had pretty much, Ekitike was marked, and they had two players on the back post. If they would have found, that could have had a really good chance, and they didn't find them. They went for Ekitike, and he kind of had to rush the shot, and luckily for us, it just wasn't the best finish.
Yeah, when you're in that position, when you have that overload in our box, you've got to put the ball in the back of the net. We'll find a way to put the ball in the back of the net, and I think we're very lucky that they didn't in that moment in time. And look, my feeling at half-time during that game was, look, we're not the worst team here. I think we are the better team, but we're not doing enough to create enough chances. And for all the possession and all the dominance that we had in the game, we weren't making it count in any stretch of the imagination. And I was calling for the team to show a bit more cutting edge and to create a few more chances in that second half. And I think that's what we got.
Yeah, I think it was just a bit too slow in that first half. And I think just what
too predictable.
Yeah, we didn't quicken things up. The only one I thought was in that first half was really trying to make things happen with Maddison. I thought Maddison was having quite a good game. Some of the stuff he was doing, weaving in and out of players and finding all different kind of positions, I thought he was really stepping up. He was kind of the only one. I thought everyone else wasn't really doing much in terms of in the final third, like really trying to ask questions. I thought the fullbacks as well actually were pretty good, but I think by and large I thought Maddison was probably, him and Bentancur potentially one of our better players in that first half. Bergvall was, I thought was much better in the second half actually. Bergvall, for first half wasn't doing much, but then second half I thought we started with much more purpose. I thought very much with more urgency, I think with the word I would use, and willingness to commit players forward, really go at players. Everyone seemed to be taking people on. I think a Doggy was flying down that left-hand side all of a sudden in that second half, getting to the byline, getting those cutbacks, getting in great positions. They couldn't handle a Doggy, I thought. Every time he got the ball, he was beating his man. I thought Christensen was really struggling. Maddison was continually finding those little pockets in the box. I thought he was really purring. I think Bergvall became alive as well. That moment where he weaves in between two players and hits the post. Phenomenal piece of play from Bergvall, and that really kind of sparked Tottenham into life for a few minutes. And then that kind of preceded that spell we had for about 5 minutes where I don't know how we didn't score. The keeper Cal Santos made an unbelievable save from Son, unbelievable one-handed save, and an unbelievable save from good save I should say, from Maddison, albeit it was from through a sea of bodies. Hit the post twice, one from Bergvall, one from Bentancur, and it just seemed only a matter of time before we would score. But unfortunately, we didn't really take advantage of that moment we had, and then Frankfurt kind of got a foothold back in the game after that.
Yeah, I was saying in that moment, kind of, we had to score while we're on top, and if you don't score while you're on top, you're going to rue those missed chances, and that might be what happens in this tie, because if you only take a draw out to Frankfurt, we're all saying it before the game, we're going to need to take a lead there. 2-goal minimum, we were saying, take a lead there. But I also said, if you take any sort of lead there, it's a positive. But we're not. It's 1-1, and we had to, and I think we might be looking back in that period of the game being like, that might what cost us. That's what's going to cost us. And you got to say, even though we were forcing the keeper into good saves, we didn't create too many proper clear-cut chances though, like high XG chances.
Well, it's a European quarter-final. I think it's a decent side, so it was always going to. It's always had the possibility of being a tie game, but I thought we created enough chances to win that game. Also, when we as well, when we made subs, maybe a bit too late, but we made subs with 10 minutes to go, and I thought, we created another chance. Spencer did really well to get to the byline, pulled it back for Johnson. He blazed it over the bar. That was a really good chance. Then right at the end, we had that chance from Mickey van der Ven, which I don't know how he doesn't put it in the back of the net. I've seen it again. He just completely misses it. It's like he just takes his eye off the ball right at the crucial moment and doesn't make good connection with it, and ends up kind of hitting his knee, and he heads onto his knee kind of thing, and ends up just, I think the keeper is forced to tip it over, but was always going to save it. And that's just so frustrating, because that would have been such reward for what was a really spirited and good second half display. I thought also our set pieces, we were looking threatening from a lot of them. Bentancur was getting a lot of headers. Porro's delivery was really good. So we were looking really threatening from those set piece moments, but just didn't get it over the line, and we just didn't get that second goal. And you got the feeling if we got that second goal, we could have made it 3. The momentum was really with us, but we just didn't put it to bed. We didn't just get it over the line and have that moment. And that was just so frustrating watching the game and just trying to will it over the line, and it just didn't quite happen. The positive is in that second half was that Frankfurt barely had anything. I think we really penned them in. I thought they had one moment where it looked like they were going to be in, and then you see Van der Ven just out of nowhere putting on the afterburners, making that challenge. I thought Van der Ven and Romero had them really on lock pretty much. I think Ekitike in that second half had barely anything, to be honest. So that was a positive that we were able to restrict them so heavily in that second half. And while looking creative as by going the other way. But it's just really frustrating that we didn't make it pay. And to be honest, could have won that game by a goal and maybe by 2 if we would have scored earlier on.
And that's the big frustration about it all, because it's going to be such a tough game out in Frankfurt, out in Germany next week. I think we're going to see a different Frankfurt side when they're at home and when they've got that intense atmosphere behind them, winning them on, I wasn't impressed by Frankfurt by any stretch of the imagination yesterday. I really wasn't. I was expecting a lot more from them in the game. And that's why it's a massive missed opportunity yesterday. Really massive missed opportunity, because we could have made it really tough for Frankfurt in that second leg with a couple goal advantage. I think our performance, even particularly in the second half, deserved that. And it's a shame. It's a big shame. Bentancur, I was saying before the game, we need our experienced players to step up, and maybe Sonny didn't do that yesterday, but I thought Maddison had a good performance, and Bentancur, I was really pleased with Bentancur, because too many times I've said Bentancur doesn't turn up in these big games, but he definitely turned up yesterday. He had some extra energy about him yesterday, like get into his headers first. It seemed like we were aiming for him at every single corner, and he was winning every single one. And it's just a shame. He scored
a few corners this season, hasn't
he? Yeah, he's really good in the air, and it's just a shame he couldn't put it in the back of the net. And it was his flick on, wasn't it, for Van der Ven as well, in the latter stages of the game, where Van der Ven really should have been doing better. So I think Bentancur really wanted that yesterday. You could see he really wanted it. And I think, I think he probably would have seen the narrative about him, from the Liverpool game, from the Villa game, putting in poor performances in these big games. And I felt like he was going the extra mile yesterday. He was non-stop, literally.
Yeah, and I thought it was a brilliant display, one of his best in a while, to be honest. And if he's going to perform like that regularly, then we know we've got a good player there. The problem is, it's kind of, we haven't seen that kind of performance often enough. So that's been the issue for him. We know what a good player he is. And I think yesterday was one of those games where he was on top of his game, and I think they struggled to handle him. And it was really, really positive. I think the way he was getting the ball on the half turn as well, similar to Maddison, just not fearless, like being aware of where the kind of Frankfurt players were and making sure he wasn't getting caught in possession and progressing the ball forward very quickly, and defensively as well. Really, really great. So really great performance from Bentancur. Loving seeing him in that kind of mood. He was really good.
Him and the midfield trio of him, Bergvall, Maddison just completely ran that game in the second half, didn't they?
Yeah.
Nothing was getting past them, particularly someone like Berg. The reason I love Bergvall so much, because he's always the one that's trying to quicken the tempo of the game, up the pace of the game, drive us forward. When he goes on one of those runs, they just can't touch him. And that shot he had, that smashed the bar, oh my God, what an effort that was. I mean, this guy has just got supreme talent. I mean, we say it every week, but it's more and more evident as the weeks go by, this Lucas Bergvall. And the biggest frustration, one of the biggest frustrations for me is the lack of kind of proactiveness from Ange in terms of making the changes, because you could see that the front three were struggling. Brennan Johnson was barely in the game. Solanke wasn't doing that much. I think he was probably better in the first half than he was in the second half. Sonny was clearly struggling in the game as well. So I felt like come like 20 minutes to go, 25 minutes to go, it started to get a bit flat from Spurs. And I felt Ange, we maybe even ran out of ideas a little bit in those last 25 minutes. So I felt like Ange needed to be a bit more proactive in that moment, because we had options on the bench, right? Whether Odobel was fit enough to play, I don't know, but he was on the bench. Tell was on the bench. Richie was on the bench. We had all these players on the bench, Mikey Moore as well. And he waits until, 5 minutes to go or something to make these changes.
79.
10 minutes to go. And it's just like a bit little too late. You need to give these guys a bit more time. And yeah, all those three players are that's who let us down on the day. That's the reality, and you need to make those changes earlier.
Yeah, and I thought when we made the changes, we looked a bit better again. And I thought Actually, one of the better moves I think was Sarr linking up with Tell to Spence, who pulled it back to Johnson, who missed. So I thought that move came about from the players who came on the pitch. So I agree. I would like to have seen them come on earlier. I understand what you were saying in terms of we had control and maybe didn't want too much disruption, but there was definitely a period. And I guess you're right. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. And he kind of waited for it to slow down rather than anticipate that it would probably slow down at this point and make the changes so that we can keep up that intensity. Because I thought the intensity in that second half was phenomenal. And I thought we really had them penned in. It looked like a matter of time before we would score. And then once we missed all those chances and it quieted down a bit, Frankfurt got a bit of a foothold in the game again without doing too much. But I think they had one chance from Bahoya who fired over the bar. Other than that, they didn't do much. But if we could have just made a few subs a bit earlier, really go again with that intensity with a bit longer, we might have had a better shot of creating a few more chances than we did. Because we made a couple of chances in the last 10 minutes, but could have been a few more if we made those changes earlier. So that's a bit of a criticism for kind of waiting a bit too long, I would say. But yeah. I would say the second half in general was pretty good from us.
Yeah, it was good. And it was massive improvement to what we've seen in any performance over the last, probably since the Liverpool game at home in the first leg of the Carabao Cup. I think that second half performance was our best performance since then. So, look, it's credit where it's due because we did play well, but the reality is we're not taking a win out to Frankfurt, and that's what really matters.
Yeah, when I'm assessing it, and I'm looking at how I feel about it, my heart's telling me there's signs of life, and finally we're really seeing improvement in this team, which we haven't seen in quite a bit. I think we're starting to see the team gel, and this was so much better than what we've seen. And if we play like that, we can go to Frankfurt, and we can go through if we play like we did last night. But my head's telling me we might have screwed up yesterday by not winning that game, and we might have missed the opportunity that we really had of at least taking a 2-goal lead there. And the fact we have to go to an intense stadium, an intense atmosphere, which we have struggled in. I would not even say just this season, just in general, as a club, we've struggled and we go to these away games. I mean, there's a reason we have these big, long records without wins in big away games like Arsenal and Chelsea and even Old Trafford for a while. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about this club, but if we struggle when the atmosphere goes against us and there's intensity and we can get bullied, and that is the fear going into next week, that we're going to see a different Frankfurt than what we saw last night. Because last night was definitely a Frankfurt side which is we can definitely beat, and I think we're better than, and I think we dominated and we were the better team last night. But are we going to see a better kind of team next week when they've got the crowd behind them, when they're on home turf, when they got the kind of pyro going on in the stadium, and we've seen us crumble in those situations this season and for a very long time. So my head's telling me I think we might have screwed up yesterday by not getting that win, and we massive missed opportunity. But at least, given the fact that we did play well, it wasn't like one of those draws where we got away with it, we should have won, and we did play well. Yeah, so they got away with it. So I understand people saying, look, they came for a draw probably and they got it, so fair enough. And, I agree, they probably got the result they wanted. But at least we showed that we can play in that way when we're at our best, and hopefully we can see more of that.
The reality is, look at it this way, yeah. If it was the flip reversal and we were away first and we came away with a 1-1 draw, we'd be delighted.
Yeah, we would be. But we would be saying we got away with it, yeah.
And Frankfurt will also be delighted right now, coming away with a 1-1 draw, take us back to Germany, and their favourites. I mean, I thought before this game, Spurs were favourites probably to go into the next round, but now I think Frankfurt are favourites to go into the next round.
Well, they went away and got a draw, so they'll probably be favourites with the intense atmosphere. Not to say we can't win, and we just got to hopefully deal with that atmosphere, and hopefully we don't crumble and we can settle into that game. Don't give them a bloody early goal, and maybe we got a chance. But it's going to be interesting.
Just got a horrible feeling that this one is going all the way to penalties. It's just got that bit of a feel about it where, both sides. I know we performed better in the second half, but it's an evenly matched tie, isn't it? With Frankfurt and Spurs. You could see that yesterday, and we had the upper edge because we were at home. But I think they'll have the upper edge being at home. But I think we got it within us to sneak through at Frankfurt with a draw. I don't know if we can go there and win. And I just feel like this could go all the way.
Well, apparently, I read somewhere that they've never not scored at home this season. They've got I think 7 clean sheets, so they do concede, but 7 clean sheets isn't a terrible kind of record, but they've scored in every home game. So if they keep up that record, we'll have to get 2 to win there. And
yeah, they're a very good home side. They're 5th in the home standings in the Bundesliga this season, 27 points from 14 games. That's only 3 points less than Bayer Leverkusen.
Mm-hmm.
So, very, very strong team, intense atmosphere. It's going to be mad. That you just think about the away fans last night bouncing for like literally 4.5 hours straight. That's what the whole stadium's going to be like, So we're going to have our wits about us massively. And we're gonna have to put in a massive performance if we're gonna go through. That's the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very big. I think very, very big when it comes to our season. When it comes to Ange, all that kind of stuff, all goes down to 190 minutes in Germany. Where would it rank if we were to get through in terms of our recent European nights?
Well, we haven't had many recently.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah. Probably the best since the Champions League.
Best since Ajax, you reckon?
Yeah.
Or best since City, or City and Ajax were definitely better.
Marseille was a pretty good night.
Yeah, we weren't there, but
No.
it was still massive.
Mm.
But we need that kind of style of performance if we're going to go through. That's the
Roy
reality.
of the Rovers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do wonder. I doubt he'll change his tack. I think he'll probably try and play like he did yesterday, and he'll go and attack them. I don't think there's any kind of fear of. I wouldn't say fear, but I thought of let's stick some more steel in there and try and ride out a storm.
Because we need to win the game.
He's going to go there and play probably a similar team.
It's not like going to Anfield with a 1-0 lead. We're going there drawing, and at Anfield, obviously, we sat quite defensive. But in this game, we need to go and win. So we have to go attacking.
Absolutely. But all I say is about the performance, it was just really great to see us playing. Like, it was very much similar to how we were playing earlier in the season. It was much more on that level, and it was really encouraging. So and as well, really encouraging to see some of the players looking back to their best. And I think defensively, I know we had a few moments still where we were too open, but by and large, a lot better, I think, than we were obviously when we didn't have Romero and Van der Ven and Vicario all together. I think it was a lot more kind of less opportunity for Frankfurt to kind of get in behind us, and they had not many chances, and we looked a lot better going forward. So very much a better performance, but obviously really frustrating not to get the win. But I'm encouraged by the performance. I'm encouraged by it.
Yeah, let's hope your encouragement comes to pass and we actually go and do the job next week. Massive game, massive season-defining game next week. It all comes down to 90 minutes of football. I was praying that we were going to take a lead there, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately. As much as we deserved it, that's what the footballing gods chose for us, apparently.
Yeah, and they were against us. Ange said the footballing gods have changed their number. He said he's trying calling them, but they're not picking up anymore.
Yeah, well, it's just like, it's so hard for me to take like encouragement for that game when we know how detrimental that could be going into the second leg. That's the reality.
Yeah, but if you're just taking out the performance on its merits, it was just a lot better than what we've seen in recent weeks.
I know, but ultimately it might not even mean anything, because we needed to take a lead there.
No, what it potentially means is we could play like that more regularly, and maybe we'll play like that next week. That's the encouragement, I guess, that there's more belief we could. Because going into this game, right, we're thinking, we obviously know we need to win, right, and we know we need to step up, but we're all saying, is there any belief that we could play well when we haven't seen us play well in so long, and is there any belief we can get back to that level? And at least we showed that maybe there is signs that we can get back to that level last night, and that's the positive.
Yeah, well, let's hope we can we need to perform better than we did last night out in Frankfurt.
Depending on Frankfurt, obviously.
Because they'll be better. We know they'll be better. And they'll have more of a threat as well, particularly at home. So we're going to need to raise our game even more if we're going to want to go through into the semi-finals. A quick word on kind of the other quarterfinals last night that made an implication to Spurs was Bodo Glimt against Lazio.
Mm-hmm.
Bodo beat Lazio 2-0 out in Norway. I mean, I don't think that's a result that's not overturnable for Lazio, especially going back to Rome. But that could have been 3, 4, 5 for Bodo Glimt last night. And I was telling you, that these guys are no pushovers. These guys are no mugs, Bodo Glimt. And I won't be surprised if Bodo Glimt actually go through into the semis.
Well, they've put themselves in a great position. And you're right, they should have really taken to the sword. It should have been more. In fact, Lazio are probably lucky that they're still in the tie after that first leg. But still, I'd much rather face Bodo Glimt than Lazio, even that's the case. I know Bodo Glimt are not a bad side, for sure. They're a pretty good team. But I still think they're more beatable than Lazio. And I've seen some of the results they've had this season in the Europa League. And I think judging by that, as much as they're a good team, they're still very much beatable. And I think if we get through and play Bodo Glimt, you've got to fancy your chances. You really do, to get into that final.
Yeah. Man United beat Bodo Glimt this year 3-2, didn't they?
They lost 2-1 at home to Karabag. We beat Karabag 3-0 with 10 men. So they're clearly not the best side, but they're a good side, and they're a side they're not to be underestimated, I think it's fair to say.
And on the other kind of results as well, Man U 2-2 with Lyon. Lyon probably should have won that game. Terrible goalkeeping. After all that kind of stuff with Onana and Matic before the game, it had to be 2 clangers from Onana. And I was quite surprised. Rangers down to 10 men after, 15 minutes or something. And Bilbao can't win there.
They didn't win?
It was 0-0, wasn't it?
I thought it was 1-0. Was it not 1-0?
No, it was 0-0.
Oh, did the goal get ruled out?
Must have done, yeah.
Oh, because I saw them score. Must have got ruled out.
0-0.
I saw them go 1-0 up. Oh, fair play. Fair play to Rangers.
The goal got ruled out for Bilbao, and then they missed a penalty a few minutes later.
I see. Because it came up, they were 1-0 up. All right. Okay, I didn't even realise that.
Yeah.
Great result for Rangers then. Brilliant result. Albeit, they have to go away to Bilbao and get something because that was their home time. But still, the fact that they're not out of it is credit to them.
Yeah.
And Bilbao have been slipping a bit as well in the league, not being on the best form. So be interesting if Rangers pull off the impossible there.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. If Rangers can do something out in Bilbao next week, that just opens up the whole competition a bit more, doesn't it?
For sure. Because then I think for me, Bilbao are the favourites, and if they go out, all of a sudden it's anyone's game.
Well, let's do the job out in Frankfurt first.
Yeah,
that's all that counts right now. But if we do the job out in Frankfurt, there's a real chance that Spurs can do something special this season for sure. But that is our match review from the 1-1 draw against Frankfurt. Let's